Good evening and welcome to Chasing the Facts. I'm Sam Chase, your host, and with us this very cold January evening is Carly Reim, who is a member of Chelmsford's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and a next-door neighbor. So I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you to have me.
And Lauren Cochran, who is the Executive Director of the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. And we have the ladies here this evening to talk about the upcoming events that will be scheduled during February, which is Black History Month. So I'm very glad that you're here and you can advise the community what's going on. But before we do that, what we like to do with new guests, which each of you are, is just each of you take a minute and just give us a very precise snapshot of your biography, if you will, and then we'll get into the discussion. So, Lauren.
Sure. I am now the executive director over the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. Prior to that, I was a teacher at Chelmsford High School for 26 years, and I was the theater teacher. So when I retired in June, there was an opening that Lexi Lattimore, who was a former student of mine, moved on, and it was just the timing. Prior to that, I've worked in different fields as well. I've done marketing, and I was in business prior to going back to teaching. But I was also on the diversity committee for 4 years with Carly, which was terrific.
Yeah.
So.
Very good. And Carly?
Okay. I work in the tech sector. I've been living here in Chelmsford for about 26 years. I became a part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee shortly after it was formed by the town board. It was as the result of a vigil in the center of town in 2020. So I've been involved with the DEIC since its inception in June or July of 2020.
It's been that long. Oh, well, you said almost 4 years.
Yeah.
It seems like 6 months ago they created the committee.
know.
I mean, time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
At my age, time moves very quickly, so it's been that long. Wow. So what are some of the initiatives that have been accomplished under the DEI banner?
I've got quite a few. First and foremost, we have an anti-racism pledge that we have on the Chelmsford town website that anyone can go and scan as a QR code and sign the pledge. We have the land proclamation, which is an acknowledgement from the select board acknowledging that this land was once inhabited by indigenous people. We also have Gay Pride Month. So Pride Month has been acknowledged by the select board as well. And we have been working on a number of initiatives to impart education on race, religion, social issues, and what we try to do is wrap that around events and select events that help to educate the community and provide some fun as well, bring everybody together.
So the committee is appointed by the select board,
Yes.
not the town manager.
That's correct.
Okay. And membership is how many?
Currently, we have 9 people on our
That's a big committee.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to get stuff done when you have that number. So how do you assess the committee's ability to function with 9 people?
It's
Does it
actually
work?
interesting. I think we're the largest committee in Chelmsford.
I think you are.
And a number of people have questioned that and said, well, why do you have so many? It takes a lot of people to put together the list of activities that I'm going to talk to you about for the committee. We plan throughout the year all types of events, and a lot of them are a lot of fun. They're family friendly, they're informative, and we partner with different municipal groups. We partner with the police department. We partner with the school system, the public library, the CCA, the Historical Society. We work together with a lot of different groups to provide events that are enriching events. And so when we're planning these events, depending upon what they are, we may need all 9 people, all hands on deck. For instance, our Juneteenth event, I think that's probably one of the biggest events that we plan. It's in the center of town.
I remember that got an awful lot of publicity when you were working on that. I mean, a lot of people weren't really even aware that Juneteenth was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I would say probably most people in Chelmsford are aware of it, and I would attribute that to the activities of your committee.
Yeah, it takes a lot of, and this is something that, I'm so grateful that you invited us on the show, because one of the things that I think that we've fallen down on is really getting the word out as effectively as we would like. Each year, the event gets better and better and bigger, requiring more hands we actually have volunteers as well that Lauren has provided to make these events a success. But we really, when we look at everything that we have to do, coordinating the media, lining up the talent for the events, making sure we have a stage. We are dependent upon so many different people, the police department, the fire department, the Chelmsford telemedia. Everyone plays a part in planning these events, and it takes a lot of coordination. So our committee meets every 2 weeks. That's another thing that people don't realize.
Yeah, that's very frequent. Many committees in town meet once a month.
Right.
A standard thing, yeah.
But we're planning all of these events. For instance, Black History Month, we've been planning for months. The next events that are coming up, they're going to take several months to coordinate and to pull off. So when people think about, what goes into doing this, those 9 people plus everybody in the town participates.
It's a lot of work, and people look at things like the events that you just described, things like the 4th of July parade, and, well, gee, what's the big deal? Well, you know what? Why don't you go sit on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, or why don't you go sit on the parade committee, and then you'll find out what a big deal it is.
Yeah.
You know, everything is easy until you have to sit down and actually do it.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, as somebody who has served on a few committees myself, I can attest to that. And based on what you've just told us, 9 does not sound like an unreasonable number.
No, it doesn't. And
you probably also, I would guess, in addition to the 9 folks on your committee, you probably reach out and get volunteers for maybe some ad hoc things that need to be done.
Yes.
I would guess.
Absolutely.
And especially with Lauren's support at the CCA and all the resources you have would figure into that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And we have people at the CCA that will be helping with the event as well.
So I know you want to get into that, but I want to ask you one more question just because I'm a history nut, okay? And so could you talk a little bit about the Black History Month in February and how that, anything that you know about it, how it got started and the impetus and so forth. I think people would be interested to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. Black History Month actually originated in 1915. It started in Chicago in 1915. It wasn't called Black History Month. It was called Negro History Week, or just Negro History as a start.
All right.
It was started by...
We got to start somewhere, a week,
Started,
okay?
yeah, by a gentleman named Carly Woodson, and he reached out to Black leadership across the United States and said, I want to have an event where we highlight people who are prominent in our history to celebrate the 50 years of emancipation from slavery. And he expected a turnout, but he didn't expect the turnout that they got. It was huge. It was monumental. It was so big that they said, let's just keep doing this and getting better at it and improving upon it. So in 1925, they had gotten so good at organizing these events that they became Black History. It was still Negro History Week.
Right.
And then they continued, and they started. The 60s came, and there was a big turn there in civil rights. And by mid-1970, it became Black History Month. The presidents of the United States.
So mid-70s.
Mid-70s is where it became Black History Month.
Okay, so that makes sense to me because I was, without going back and doing any research, I was just trying to remember. And what I came up with in my brain was it's been in place long enough so that I can't remember when it started.
Actually, it started way before you.
So the 50-year cycle, that makes perfect sense to me. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's good. And so we have February coming up, Black History Month. So why don't you just go ahead and tell us what your committee is planning and how you're going to pull it off, and however it's coordinated with the CC. I assume a lot of the events will actually occur.
At least three, yes,
in the
three
building.
events at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts.
So go ahead.
Okay, so beginning in February, we have a trivia night that we're planning that's going to take place in the
Cabaret Cafe, which is a
That's right.
beautiful, you've been there
I was
recently.
just there this
Right.
past weekend, actually. Very nice.
It's
Yes.
a nice venue. And I think it's 55 to 60 seats, right, that we can accommodate?
We can actually accommodate
yeah.
65.
Yeah.
65,
Easily,
okay, great.
comfortably. Mhm.
So that's going to take place on February 2nd. And we have someone who's going to be the master of ceremonies for the trivia. We'll have prizes. And I think we'll have a cash bar.
We do have a bar.
Yes.
You don't even need cash. You can use credit card.
Yeah, so
Get your license yet from the board?
I did.
You
we
will.
do, as a matter. No,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have it. We have it. We're all set.
Very good.
It's
Okay.
posted right over the bar. Don't worry.
There you go. I love it.
so that, I believe, is a $5 admission?
Yes.
$5 admission.
But there's prizes for the top three
That's right.
winning teams.
How can you, at that price, how can you afford not to go?
Exactly.
Really,
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a
It's
great
fun.
time. It's a lot of fun.
The trivia is a lot of fun. It really
And
is.
I really do have to slip in a thank you to Cherise Lattimore, who was very instrumental in not only helping us with planning for Black History Month, but by introducing us to talent that we would not have known about for a lot of these events, but also getting us a grant.
Oh,
that
that's
we
big.
Yes, we have a small grant that we were given, so that goes towards offsetting the costs of some of the things that we're doing, including the prizes and stuff like that. But that's going to be fabulous, the trivia night. Then June 18th is
June?
Well, I'm sorry, February.
February 18th. I'm like,
No, I'm already
June,
thinking
you're
June's
jumping
right.
ahead.
February 18th. February is Black History Month.
Yes,
So
yes.
February 18th. We are going to have our second annual jazz brunch. Last year was
Jazz brunch.
Brunch.
amazing.
Food and jazz. It's great.
It was amazing. Live band.
Now, there are different kinds of jazz. So what kind of jazz are we talking about?
Wasn't quite Charlie Parker. More
It would be we have the same band as last year.
same
Okay.
band.
It
but
was
they were
just
very
it
good.
was just very easy listening, very nice, a lot of talent.
Okay. That's going to be a good event.
Yeah.
It was
It was
amazing
fabulous.
last year. We were sold out last year. And the catering was wonderful. We just
This year we have Red's Kitchen from UTEC is going to be doing the catering.
Okay, what kind of food?
Well, we're going to have a lot of really good stuff. Eggs, chicken and waffles.
Not chicken and waffles, though.
No
Not
chicken-
this year.
okay.
No, no.
Okay.
But Cherise just went to an event yesterday and said the food was delicious. There's going to be chicken. But
Okay.
we may have some chicken gumbo, some greens.
Oh, okay, so they're
hash
mixing it up
browns.
this year.
It's going to be a real nice
Yes.
mix. Yeah.
So you get it isn't just breakfast stuff. You're going to
No, no. It's
Oh,
a,
no,
it's a,
it's a
no. It's
true
combination.
brunch,
Right.
yeah.
True brunch.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Great.
Yep.
It's going to be delicious.
There'll
and
be
we-
two speakers.
We have two speakers. One of them is Dr. Brent Smith, professor at, I'm sorry, I forgot the university that he's with, but he was also tasked with being our keynote speaker at the Juneteenth event. He's a wonderful speaker. And the other speaker.
And the other speaker is a person who is a member of the jazz band who will be talking as well. And we had him last year.
Right.
Yeah, he was good. I wish I remembered the name offhand.
Yeah, but it's, that was one of our favorite events. And
It was a wonderfully attended
Was
event.
it well attended?
It was.
last year? Okay,
sold
good.
out, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So
You're
look
going
out
to
for
charge.
that.
You're going to charge more than $5 for that, aren't you?
It's $40.
Okay, all right,
That
good.
includes food. And,
Absolutely.
And they'll also be
And there's an art
bar over there.
installation.
Well, we're hoping to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's wonderful. That's up in the auditorium.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you need the space for that. So.
yeah.
Yeah, we hopefully will have about 80 to 100 tickets sold. And everybody, it's
Well,
very nice and formal with
Publicize
tables,
it.
et cetera.
Maybe we'll do better than
Tickets will be going on sale
Okay.
soon,
Okay.
Yes.
and you can get them at the
We're working on the
ChelmsfordArts.org.
flyers right now.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
make sure you get before the select board in open session and
Yes.
in front of each of these events and announce it. because people do watch that.
Yeah, they do.
You know, so, yeah, that's great. Okay. What else have we got?
So then we have our last event, which is a movie night, that we're going to be showing Judas and the Black Messiah. I've acquired the tape from the public library, our friends at the public library again. And we will have popcorn, cash bar, you know, same thing. And that'll be at 7 p.m. I should mention that the trivia night is also at 7 p.m. And the brunch is at noon.
Noon.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
And that will be on February 23rd.
Okay. So those are the main, oh, that's okay. That's all right. You're not the first person to do that. So, well, it sounds like an awful lot of activity that will be occurring, and all these events are at
The Chelmsford Center for the
at
Arts.
the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. So we'll hope for decent weather. And when I say decent weather during February, I mean no ice in the parking lot.
Yeah,
you know.
we had that problem last year with the ice.
Right,
But we managed.
That's good. So, well, I'm very glad that you know, you are here and you're promoting these things, because in addition to just the Black History Month aspect of it, of course, we as a community are very interested in promoting Center for the Arts events, okay? And I think this is a good marriage. It's a great venue.
Oh, yeah.
And what I like about, I mean, you could have these things at a different, you could have it at the Performing Arts Center, but you'd get lost, okay? That's what, 1,000-seat auditorium?
995.
Yeah.
So your venue is a couple of hundred, 200, 220?
It's 220. You can fit in the auditorium.
So it's a perfect venue for this kind of thing, and I urge anybody who's listening, if you haven't taken in an event at the Center for the Arts, do it, okay? Do it, because one of the criticisms I've heard, or I won't say it's a criticism, but one of the challenges, I think is probably a better word, that Lauren has in trying to schedule events is the seating, you know. In other words, you could probably bring more things in if you had a 500 or a 600 seat auditorium.
Sure, of course, you could sell more tickets.
So that's a limitation. But people don't look at the other side of it, and I look at it this way and I say, well, it's perfect for more intimate type settings, which the events that you're talking about here, I think fall into that. I mean, I suppose you could have 200 people at a trivia night, but
Yeah.
you know,
Not ideal.
but probably not likely either. Okay, under the circumstances. So it's great, you know, that you're able to avail yourself of this resource, and you know, Lauren is very open, you know, in terms of making the accommodations and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not easy trying to pull off events like this. I mean, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I don't. I'm not a theater person. I'm not an artistic person, but both of my girls were involved in productions that you managed at the high school, and so I got a little flavor of it there. And my wife started her career as a music teacher, so she had a little bit of.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she switched back in the late '80s when, you know, that kind of thing was on the. Well, it was on the chopping block. Let's be honest about it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Prop 2.5, I believe it was
when
called.
we ran into budget problems, the first thing to go is the arts, right?
Yes, and it should be the first thing to stay.
Big mistake, you know.
know.
I mean,
I agree.
I'm an advocate of arts, extracurricular, sports. All these things help keep the kids in school. You know, I mean, how many kids did you have that are there because of the chorus or the
Absolutely.
or the arts program?
It
How
gets
many
them to
kids are
school.
there because of the sports program?
Sure.
Very important. We don't cut that stuff.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I mean, I don't mean to.
No, I
But
totally agree.
Yeah, that's it's.
And a lot of what
it's
we
very
do
important.
infuses that. So your theater team.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know, getting back to the Black History thing, I think your outreach is great. And I'm sitting here as we're talking, and I'm trying to think of different ways that you can promote yourself, okay? I mean, you've got 9 people on your committee, and I'm sure they're all very intelligent people, so probably 9 heads working together
Yeah.
can do about as good a job as anybody could do, you know, in terms of the publicity and so on and so forth. And certainly you have background in that area as well, so.
Yeah, we've also been fortunate to have been selected by a university professor on Long Island, somebody that my husband grew up with. She's a professor at Farmingdale University, and she runs a marketing and communications course. And they focus their students on one nonprofit every semester. And we were selected, and so they went through all of our social media. They looked at how we are promoting our events, how we're communicating out, and they've put together a package making recommendations on things that we should be doing, like getting on TikTok, which now we are.
And
knowing
Instagram.
and Instagram, knowing who our influencers are, which we never really thought about. We didn't know we had influencers. but
Well,
we actually
there you
do.
are. That's exactly right.
That
you know.
helps, yeah. So that's helping us. They're going to be giving us a presentation in the next couple of weeks or so, but
Great.
that'll definitely help us. And also getting our calendar so people know and can plan up on a site. You know, we talked about that. We know what we're going to do for the year, and we do all of that planning, but we have to put it somewhere where it's accessible to everyone and they know what's coming up.
Right, exactly. Well, I think, you know, this is all very important, and of course the Black History Month in February is 1 month out of the year where we focus on this kind of thing. I think it's very important, and as somebody who grew up, you know, in a largely well, I won't say it wasn't totally non-diverse, but I think I grew up in the town of Concord in the 1950s. I think we had 4 black families, okay, and maybe a handful of Asian folks. The diversity in my town was Irish and Italian. Okay, that was the diversity, which was actually a majority of the town when you added those 2 groups together. Believe it or not, but you know, when we were taught history, we were taught an encapsulated history. We were not aware of the contributions that blacks have made, that others of other ethnic origins have made. I mean, we got the standard stuff, you know, everybody knew about Booker T. Washington, you know, that kind of thing. So there were a few historical figures, but, you know, not to the extent that it should have been done, and I had to really get that when I was in college, you know, and I was very fortunate because I went to Northeastern, and Northeastern back then was very, very strict about taking a wide variety of courses. Didn't matter what your major was. You know, they had what they called distribution requirements, and there were 7 areas. And any kind of a degree, even if you got a degree in phys ed, you had to take, which I think is a wonderful,
great.
yeah,
It is.
that's the way it should be, okay? I mean, we even had to pass a swimming test, okay? You know, because they thought you shouldn't have a college degree
Right, if you
and not
can't
know how to swim, right? I mean, that was just their mindset. But I was very fortunate because I wasn't really a history person. But when I got to Northeastern, my professor was a guy by the name of David Brudnoy. Remember David Brudnoy?
I certainly do.
Yes.
He was a newscaster and a theater critic.
And intelligence off the scale, okay? And when he was teaching at Northeastern, he was studying for his PhD in history at Harvard. And he was a marvelous lecturer. And he was the kind of guy that told you the other side of the story. Okay,
all right.
so that's how I got my introduction into history, and that's kind of a hobby that I have today. It's something that I do. But that's when I started to find out about the contributions that some of these other folks made to the history of the country.
Yeah.
You know, and you say, well, you know, of course, you know, everybody should be included. Isn't that the point?
Absolutely the point.
Everybody should be included. Nobody should be marginalized. Just tell the facts. Tell the story the way it happened, please.
That's right.
And don't leave anything out,
Absolutely.
good or bad.
Right.
Because if we sanitize stuff and we only talk about the good, then we're never going to learn anything and we're never going to get past that. I mean, that's been my thought process anyway.
It-
So I
it's
think
spot on.
I think it's great. So we've had the diversity committee now for almost 4 years, and I think if I remember correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the ARDS. It got off to a little bit of a rocky start in the beginning,
It did.
but then it quickly, it quickly became sort of into the fabric of the committees of the town, and became institutionalized that way. So give me just a very quick snapshot. We've got about 4 minutes left in the show. I'm interested to know, from the time these efforts started in town to now, what kind of progress has been made within Chelmsford as a result of the awareness that has been created as a result of the committee's activities, things like this, and the Juneteenth and some of the things that you've done on the Common, those kinds of things.
Sure.
Could you kind
Sure.
of talk a little bit about that? I'm very interested.
It's interesting because I think the greatest impact that we've had is making the community aware of the fact that we do have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Whenever
Yeah.
we meet people in the town through
Yeah.
these events,
Yeah,
they're
what's
like,
that?
this is great.
Yeah.
Didn't know, because there are a lot of people, Chelmsford is changing. Chelmsford is a fantastic town. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in Massachusetts. It's a wonderful town. The
I love
thing
that.
about Chelmsford is, though, that we need to make sure people who live here, people who visit here, people who work here, understand that we are inclusive. As the community changes, we need to make sure everybody feels welcome. And I think having this committee sort of informs people that, yeah, we do care, and we're not just a committee that sits in a little room that is not in touch with what's going on. But as I said, we work with the local churches, we work with the police department. The police department's been fabulous. The library, and we're constantly doing things to bring the community together. And if we can bring people together in the community, they get to know each other and they get to learn about each other. And what may seem different or frightening or something that they've not experienced becomes, oh, that's my community. And I think that's what we're succeeding at doing. When you mentioned a rocky start, I think we were trying to figure out where we fit in
Right.
everything,
Right.
And how we can make an impact. And we started to realize that this committee is not about pointing the finger of blame at somebody and saying you're not diverse or you're not inclusive or whatever. It's about, hey, here I am, get to know me and get to know your neighbors, and we're going to have a good time doing it. We're going to learn a few things.
That is it in a nutshell. I mean, I could not have said that any better.
Absolutely, it was well said.
Very, very well said. And I have a little bit of an advantage over many people because I spent almost 30 years in my professional life in international work, dealing with other cultures, going to other countries. And as an American, you go through an experience like that and you say, you know what? There are other ways of thinking and other ways of doing things, and just because somebody does something a little different or thinks a little different or comes from a different culture or background, doesn't mean they're wrong.
Correct.
Okay? And, it would be great if more people could have that kind of an experience. But if they can't, we have
Bring it to you.
the Diversion, Equity, and Inclusion Committee that will bring it to you and make you aware of some of these things. And I think you're right. I mean, you get people together in whatever the venue is. It doesn't matter what they're doing, really. But just if people can talk to one another.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that person doesn't have horns. Isn't that it? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe what I was told when I was 3 years old wasn't right. People start to...
Change your mind about people.
Exactly, And, we all like to think, I think that most of us like to think we're open-minded anyway. I try to be open-minded. Nobody's perfect. We all backslide from time to time, but, I've met too many different kinds of people in my life to be negative generally about any group of people.
That's great.
People are people. People pretty much want the same things, I find. So anyway, it's great having you on, Carly,
so much
and
for having me.
Lauren. We're out of time, and we'll have you guys back, because we want to talk more about the Chelmsford Center for the Arts, and we want to promote that more. And if you want to come along, that's fine. That's a
I'm
wrap.
spending more time.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sam.